and the Chiefs' offense can score 30 again.
Yeah, they're going to. And so here's the thing. This Chiefs team, there have been only a handful of games all year where they were even close to whole on the receiving corps. The very beginning of the year, the very end of the year. Because beginning of the year, they still had Rashee Rice. First game of the year, played a Baltimore team, had an awesome defense, scored 27.
Yeah.
Second game of the year, played Cincinnati, despite having 3 turnovers in the game, scored 26. I think scored on every possession where they didn't turn the ball over. Then Rashee Rice went out. Hollywood was obviously already out. And they went 3 months without having a legitimate number 1 receiver. The moment Hollywood came back, they scored 27 against Houston, scored 29 against Pittsburgh. With 13 minutes left, they had 29, and then they just put it in cruise control. And then in the playoffs, scored 32 against Buffalo. So they always had this ability, especially come the postseason. The other piece of it is this, and this is a graphic and a stat I've been saving all week because I think Greg will like it the most. Because, Wilds, what wins championships?
Well, defense. Everybody knows.
Defense wins championships. And the Eagles have what ranked pass defense?
Number 1.
Number 1. So there have been 90 playoff games in NFL history where the number 1 pass defense was involved. 90. Here's how Patrick Mahomes has done against number 1 pass defenses, and here's the rest of the league. So how does Mahomes do when he's in the playoffs playing the best defense in football? Well, they win all the games. Okay, that's fine. How do they? Oh, they score 37 a game. Oh, he's basically perfect. How does every other player in NFL history do? Not well. So this idea that, Philly's going to have something for him. Philly had the best pass rush in 35 years in the last Super Bowl, and the Chiefs scored 38 points. So and then you mentioned the Fangio thing. We can show how Patrick does against Fangio. You called it 0-8. I'm including the Super Bowl because Fangio was a consultant in that game. Wow. So he crushed it. He was. They brought him in. They're like,
I'm done with the lies. I'm done with the lies. Fangio was a consultant on the offense, not the defense. So I'm just done. I'm done with these lies. It's just and he has to know this by now because he keeps saying this. Someone has to tell him now. I showed you all an NFL .com article that clearly states Fangio consulted for the offense. Okay, like it's not even up for debate. All right. And then again, you're talking about his 8-0 record against Fangio. Dude, those teams were terrible. Drew Lock and Joe Flacco were his quarterbacks. The 1 year in 2020, the Denver Broncos were giving up 28 points a game. They were 29th. They had the 29th ranked defense. Drew Lock threw 4 interceptions in the 2 games against the Kansas City Chiefs. And Gordon fumbled twice. That team was awful. Awful. So just stop, man. This is just so ridiculous. It really, really is. It's exhausting at this point. And I came in here because I saw the bottom, the where it says believe KC can score 30. And I'm ready to say, yeah, absolutely. And I actually have a couple links ready that I was excited to go through. And I'm still going to go through it. I still am. But then I get hit with this that are just blatantly misleading and just wrong too. I mean, look, NFL.com. As for the weeks leading up to today's game, sources say Fangio assisted the offense, not the defense. He's been involved with self-scouting and projects, helping Eagles offensive coordinator Shane Steichen's unit as it gears up for Steve Spagnuolo's Chiefs defense. This is NFL.com from Ian Rappaport. Published February 12th, 2023. So just stop. It's just wrong and disingenuous. And now he wants to act like the Ravens defense was good in the beginning of the year, especially. He ripped the Ravens defense all year. All year. And now he's like, they went up against, they were a great defense. You said that defense was going to be bad going into this season. You said that. But now when the Chiefs win and score, and do well, it's a great defense? Really? Come on, man. He talked all year about that Ravens defense not being good. I mean, the Raiders beat them. The Browns beat them. Like, that. Oh, man. It's just ridiculous. Here's the Denver Broncos with Fangio in 2020. They had the 25th ranked defense, and they were giving up 28 points, 27.9. They had a 5-11 record, and Drew Lock was their quarterback. And again, they had 6 turnovers. 6 turnovers in those 2 games. And then in 2021, when the Broncos actually had a decent defense, they had a terrible offense. They were 6-6 going up against the Kansas City Chiefs. And who was their quarterback? Teddy Bridgewater, who threw 2 interceptions and a 62 rating. Patrick Mahomes in this game, 15 for 29, 184 yards, and a 57.3 rating. So, again, what are we doing here? Then you had them play again, final game of the season. Broncos were playing for nothing. Drew Lock was their quarterback, who threw for 162 yards, 0 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Then they didn't even have 80 yards rushing. Well, they had a little over 100. So, I don't know, man. I don't know. And then the other games with the Miami Dolphins, what? Where that Dolphins defense, those players hated Fangio so much because he worked them too hard? It's just absurd. And the links that I had ready to go for this, but I just couldn't listen to just blatant nonsense, was that, yeah, of course the Chiefs can score 30. These Super Bowls are so unpredictable. And I do think that this will be the best version of the Kansas City Chiefs offense, because they are the healthiest that they are. And it is the playoffs. And Andy and Mahomes, etc., they're going to bring it. But I keep saying, I keep trying to emphasize that, I have 0 predictions in Super Bowls, mainly because I'm still scarred and got PTSD from this Super Bowl, the Seahawks versus the Broncos, where it was 43-8. And the Broncos, people forget, Peyton Manning threw for 5,477 yards, 55 touchdowns, both NFL records. Manning had a passer rating of 115. 4 Broncos caught at least 10 touchdowns. The Broncos scored 606 points, the most in a 16-game season in NFL history. The Broncos scored more than 40 points 6 times and more than 50 points 3 times. This team was dominant. Manning won his 2nd Offensive Player of the Year award and his 5th MVP award. And then they got rocked. Absolutely rocked in the Super Bowl. 43-8. And then the Kansas City Chiefs, who were awesome right up into the Super Bowl, 31-9. I was expecting the Chiefs to win that game. I was rooting for the Kansas City Chiefs to win this game. I've referenced this game a lot. Anytime people try to act like I'm a Kansas City Chiefs hater or Mahomes hater, I was so excited for this Super Bowl. I was like, yeah, here we go. Mahomes going to win twice. Andy Reid, let's go. And then, from the jump, this game was a disaster. And it was just I don't even know if I ended up watching the end of it because I was so mad. And that's why I always say that I called my sister-in-law, because, things were just kind of crashing at that moment. So it's like those two Super Bowls more than anything stick out for me. Anytime I'm really excited for a game, or it kind of happened also similarly with the Pittsburgh Steelers versus the not versus Buccaneers, Pittsburgh Steelers versus the Cleveland Browns. This was just like a regular playoff game. I forget if this was a divisional game or a wild card round. And I was like, all right, this is going to be great. Big Ben versus Baker Mayfield. And it was just like the Steelers turned the ball over like 4 straight times. I mean, like it was just like a cartoonish game. It was like an absolute disaster. So, those are the games that, like, especially for these big games, that I just have no desire to make, like, really strong predictions, because nobody would have ever guessed that the Seahawks were going to win 43-8 against Peyton Manning and the Denver Broncos, who were literally setting NFL records. So you can make the argument that the Kansas City Chiefs can and will score 30 versus Philly. But to use such disingenuous arguments to do so, that's where I draw the line. And I'm too locked into this game, into these two teams, because that's all we've had to look at for the last 2 weeks, to just be, to just accept it, to just sit back and take it. Because it's just fundamentally wrong. It just is. It's narratively wrong. It's statistically wrong. It's mathematically wrong. It's grammatically wrong. I mean, like, it's semantically wrong. It's just wrong. No matter how you slice it, no matter how you look at it. And the constant cooking of the books. Even the Super Bowl in 22. Yeah, that pass rush was amazing. And when you're on a slippery field, it's really difficult. So yes, that pass, and Kansas City Chiefs fans love to say, well, they both had to deal with it. Yes. But when you reduce the effectiveness of something that the Eagles relied on more than the other team, it hurts them more. We saw this even in the snow game. And I've talked about this. Tom Brady has consistently said he loves to play in poor condition fields that are slippery because it's a major advantage for the offense. And that Eagles defense pass rush was also notoriously known where they either got to the quarterback or they didn't. And if they didn't, then you could feast. Not to mention some of those points were because of a fumble. And again, referencing 22, referencing Vic Fangio and what he did in 2020, 2019, whatever, is so absurd. What he did with the Miami Dolphins is so absurd. I mean, it really, really is. It makes no actual sense. I'd say, you know what? I hear your wife is a terrible person. Yeah, man. I heard in high school? Dude, she did some crazy stuff in high school and in college, man. And you'd be like, well, that was when she was in high school. She was 16. What do you expect? Yeah, exactly. I agree. What do you expect? So you're right. I will not judge you, your wife, your girlfriend, whatever, your family, based on what they did when they were 16, 17 years old. You're right. You can take that same logic into this right here. Oh, man. I mean, it is so fascinating when you actually do see stuff like this and you're like, well, let me really actually take a second to look into this more deeply. And it's actually in a way kind of scary because you're like, wow, how many other arguments do you fall prey to that seem really correct and they're actually just wrong? There's lots of infographics that I just take as truth, in all the shows. First Things First, The Herd, First Take, any of ESPN, NFL.com. I'm just like, okay, yeah, this is what they said. That's true then. And it's like, well, wait a second. Is it? I mean, even on here, I showed you guys when Nick talked about Josh Allen. He showed Patrick Mahomes' numbers and said that Patrick Mahomes is number 1 in touchdown to interception ratio. He's not. That's Josh Allen. And total yards per game, he's number 1 in the playoffs. He said that Patrick Mahomes is number 1. He's not. Josh Allen is. I mean, that's just blatantly wrong. And you can figure it out. It's just math. It's literally just 7 is bigger than 4. It's just like There's no like, you kind of, it's just basic math. Like, you don't have to dig any deeper than that. And Marcellus Wiley, he's the one that brought this to my attention, not personally, but like years ago when he was on Speak for Yourself. Because they used to kind of tease each other. When like they would show a graphic and be like, oh, look at this guy's record. He's 4-0 against the Eagles. And then they'd be like, well, wait a second. What about the year before that? And he'd be like, I'm only looking at it from, 2020 to 2022. And it's like, and like Marcellus Wiley would laugh about it. He'd be like, hey, man, I'm allowed to cook the books. Like, I'm allowed to cook the books. And it was like kind of a little bit of a joke. And granted, I cared a lot less at the time because I wasn't making content. I was like, yeah, whatever. This is just entertainment. But now I'm like, well, I'm trying to get to the truth of these things. Like that's actually at the heart of it, like my passion is trying to get to the truth, trying to get to the reality. And in that, getting lost in the weeds and having the conversations and having differing opinions. But again, we have to agree that 1 + 1 = 2 before we do anything. We have to agree that the color blue is actually indeed the color blue. This is a black sweatshirt. If we can't agree that this is a black sweatshirt, well, then we can't continue to have conversations. I'm holding up 2 fingers. 2 fingers. We can't have a conversation. We can't have a debate. We can't have a discussion. We can't get lost in the weeds if you think that this is 7,463. It doesn't work that way. And you don't need to do that to make great and interesting content. You don't. You just don't. I mean, like, again, I really was, because when I queue up the clip, I can oftentimes see the bottom, and I can see, I believe KC can score 30. I'm like, oh, that would be good, because I do believe they can score 30, and I, was already thinking about, some of the things that were in my mind, and that's why I was like, oh, you know what, I'm going to bring up the Seattle Broncos and the, the Bucks Chiefs game, and I'm going to use those as reference points, and then I get this, and I'm just like, what am I supposed to do with this? And I can't just, like, I can't just accept that. I just can't. Oh, man. Oh, brother. I'm telling you guys something, though. This is the wrong video to do it on. I got to make a video where I say it at the very beginning, and I gotta have to say it many times. But I'll say it here. One, I don't know if I'm going to be able to make a video Sunday post Super Bowl, because I'm going to be, with family and stuff watching the game. And then also Monday, I have an appointment, so I don't know exactly when I'll be able to make my first video. But like, yeah. Yeah. I'll just leave it at that for now. And like I said, I'll make sure to say that in a few other videos, so people don't jump on me on Sunday or Monday and be like, where's the video? Where's the video? And it's like, I might be able to on Sunday night. Again, it's hard to know how Sunday night will go with like family and stuff like that. And I don't want to make like a random video where I'm like on my cell phone with a random, in a bathroom where I'm like, that was a crazy game. Can you believe that's how it ended? Like, I don't really want to do that. I don't want to do that either. So I'd rather just do it here and all of that. So, we'll play that by ear. And same thing with what I have on Monday. I don't want to like quickly rush and be like, wow, that was a crazy game. Patrick Mahomes played great. Jalen Hurts played this. All right, guys, I'll talk to you guys later. And then like go run off. Like, I don't want to do that either. I want to actually like unpack it, break it down, have honest, real conversations about the game, no matter which direction it goes. But yeah, it's when you get constant cooking of the books and misleading stuff like this that, when I defend against this and break this down, it's like, this is when people are like, you're a Kansas City Chiefs hater, you're a Mahomes hater, and it's like, no, man, like, I serve the truth. I serve reality. Like, that's how I am. And inaccuracies, purposely misleading, bias, all that type of stuff I really struggle with. I really, really do. In any aspect of my life, even if it's positive towards me. I've met people in my life who I was either like dating or close with, whatever, And if they're like really, really positive towards me, I'm like, I feel like you're maybe just a little biased. Like you're kind of looking at me through like lenses. Like I'd rather you more accurately see me for who I am, because it doesn't feel like you are. Like there's a little bit of a bias. I think you just really like me. Therefore, you're saying all these positive things. And yeah, it kind of feels good, but like it actually kind of makes me uncomfortable because I don't actually think you're seeing the reality of the situation. And when I'm trying to get other news sources for whatever's going on in the world, it's like, you know, I need to get it through through an unfiltered lens. It can't be through left and right and up and down. Like it needs to just be unbiased, no matter what it is. And it's so tricky and hard to navigate. You can go to a doctor and be like, "Do I need surgery?" And it says you have to kind of figure out, you know, does this guy want me to do surgery because they make literally like $100,000 more? You know, like what's the story here? Or is it because that's actually what I need? You know, I remember seeing a doctor where the doctor was like, I think you're going to make a full recovery, but I think you should do surgery. And I remember like when we kept talking, I was like, so wait, if I don't get surgery, like you think I'll make a full recovery? And he's like, yeah. And then it was like, so then why do you want me to go do surgery? Like that doesn't actually make sense. A doctor, a surgeon wants to do the least evasive, least risky way to heal you. Doing surgery, there is inherent risk. So when a doctor says, I think you're going to make a full recovery either way, but let's do surgery, that's suspicious. And unfortunately, lots of surgeons are like that. Lots of doctors are like that. Not all of them, but some of them are. And even the doctor who doesn't want surgery, they're like, well, wait, why don't you want to do surgery? And it's like, is it because you believe that I don't need surgery? Or is it because you will also make money because now you don't have to worry about surgery and you don't really do surgeries anymore? You also have doctors who will be like, hey, I want physical therapy. And I'm like, you don't really need physical therapy. I talked to my physical therapist. I went to multiple doctors, and doctors keep trying to, convince me not to do physical therapy. What is that? And he says, well, it's because insurance companies just give you a pool of money. So they'll give the doctor, say, like $100,000, for treatment as a whole, $100,000. Some of that goes to the doctor, some of that goes to nursing, anesthesia, et cetera, and some of that goes to physical therapy. And so if you don't go to a physical therapy, that's extra money for the doctor. And it's like, oh, that's interesting. So I have doctors literally tell me I don't need physical therapy so they make more money. So you have to constantly try to figure out, where are the biases? What are the motives? And the Kansas City Chiefs are going to beat the Philadelphia Eagles by 30 points. I mean, it's just, gosh. Oh, God, we're hitting it all today, man. We're hitting it all today. No sleep, crew. No sleep. Trying to make sure that 12 videos post on Friday and 12 videos post on Sunday. Or excuse me, Saturday. And then I'll be honest, I might only be able to post like 2 videos on Monday. It might be like 1 first things first and 1 the herd. And then I'm just going to take a nap for about a week. And then it's going to be a hard transition to basketball. Then I always laugh because then everyone's just going to pretend like they've been watching basketball all year, right? And that's what I always laugh about. Like everyone, even when Luka trade and all that happened, everyone started pretending like they've been watching Luka and the Mavs and LeBron and the Lakers. It's like, okay, sure, right. You watch every single football game, every single basketball game, every single women's basketball game, every single college football game. It's like, okay, I get it. I know. And every single assistant defensive coordinator for every single team. And, okay, sure. I know. And the injury report and all the stats and all of that. I know. Always makes me laugh. Like when Caitlin Clark started playing good and everyone acted like they're all experts on, women's college basketball. It's like, oh, okay, sure. You know how good, we're going all over the place now. Sometimes I do wish that I just had this podcast where I just make, like 3-hour videos where I just like talk and just go about anything. Would you guys listen to that if I just had like a podcast where I'm just like, hey, let's just talk about nothing for an hour? Let me know in the comments below, because I'd love to do that too. We can just meander. But those are just my thoughts about lots of things. Kansas City Chiefs scoring 30. Yes, I believe the Kansas City Chiefs can score 30. Yes, I believe that the stats are misleading for Fangio. Yes, I think this should be a great game. Yes, I have no idea who's going to win. Yes, I'm really excited. Yes, I don't like biased nonsense. Yes, let's get to it. But let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way. Let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We're building an amazing community here, and I absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to. Something that we're really excited to be part of. And I think we're well on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.